Andrew, Rod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Harner, will you please make the introduction?
Thank you, Rod. Today, this is the pre-design presentation for the Cape Coral westbound span replacement. As Randy likes to tell me continuously, that we are 40 days into a 4-year design plan for this bridge. What you're going to see today is some conceptual ideas. What we wanted to do, because the next step in the process is to start talking to the public, taking this to the public. We wanted to present to you to see if you felt we were on the right track conceptually, and if you had any other additional comments or direction for us following the presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Randy.
Thank you, Dave. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yeah, again, like Dave said, we're very early in the design stage. The notice to proceed for the design was issued April 5th. So we're some 40 days into it, into a 4-year design. But we're going to start our design team going out to seek input from stakeholders here in the next month. So we wanted you to see what we had first. Again, the questions we'll ask: do you agree with our plan moving forward? Are there any other discussion topics you'd like to see covered? The project is 2.3 miles. It's dealing with the Cape Coral Bridge from the intersection of Del Prado Boulevard and Cape Coral Parkway to McGregor Boulevard. You can see the safety needs, a 5-year crash analysis. We had 334 total crashes. The level of service is low. The safety concerns, the rear end crashes due to congestion. It's Southeast 17th place. We have a lot of angle crashes, and we're working toward a Vision Zero fatality and serious injury goal. For the purpose of this presentation, we've broken the project up into 6 sections. The first section is Del Prado intersection. It's got a failing level of service of F. In 2021, it's 81 seconds per vehicle delay time, and projected 2045 will be 178 seconds per vehicle. So at this point in time, again, all these are tentatively planned. What we plan to do is triple southbound to eastbound left turn lanes, dual westbound to northbound right turn lanes, dual eastbound to northbound left turn lanes, and then 3 westbound through lanes. Crosswalks on all approaches. That should reduce the delay from 81 seconds down to 54 seconds in the design year. And it might look something like this. The next section is Cape Coral Parkway on the west side of the river. Right now, we're looking at 10-foot multi-use paths on both sides with a barrier down the middle to restrict turns. You can see in the section AA down below here, we'll have 3 11-foot lanes and 10-foot paths on both sides. The problem is, here on this one, right along, the folks along here are going to have to make a right turn, come down, and do a proposed U-turn to come back at this point in time. The Bernice Braden Park section, just before we go over the river, for those folks there, we'll have to have a U-turn under the bridge. We'll keep the westbound span, the new westbound replaced span, up in the air until it goes past that U-turn area there. Yep.
Go back to the last slide of the question where you had it up there. That new lane coming in the U-turn going back westbound, is that going to take more of the green space away from that current private property to the left and also the park?
It won't from the south side, but from the north side, this is one area that will need some right away.
What is that being used for now? Is that the old model center?
I think it's a park. The welcome center is right here.
Okay. And farther west of that, that's where the Arbachon model was, center?
Yeah,
okay.
yes. And then the other option here on this is the pedestrian bridge we're considering right now at this location to get folks from one side to the other.
Okay, thank you.
As you can see, if you were coming down the shared use path, westbound into Cape Coral, without this bowing the path out around, you would have a conflict point right here where people on the shared use path would be intersecting with folks doing that U-turn. So again, shooting for a zero future of accidents, we're going to try to eliminate that. And one thought was this extended bike path like that. Another look at it would be like this. And again, we'll need some right-of-way at the base of the bridge there in the Bernice Park area, build seawall. And then we don't get into the Cape Coral Visitor Center, and we retain a lot of the park area there. The pedestrian bridge is a feature. It's not currently in the scope of services. It's one way to get folks across since we cannot get them across. Another way, there'll be a barrier down the middle. It'll be a nice chance for the city of Cape Coral and Lee County to partner on this project. There will be no elevators on the path, on the thing. It'll be ADA compliant, nice long ramps with opportunities to have some wording on them. The section of the bridge itself.
May I, Mr. Chairman, ask just a question? So do we have any counts or any way to count pedestrians that use that current area right now? And any way to estimate how many pedestrians may use that in the future?
I'm not sure how many folks cross that far down. I think there's probably a lot crossing up towards Del Prado. I don't have that information. We sure find that. And that'll be an analysis we go through as well.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it definitely looks like it's not going to be an inexpensive feature to add. It's got a great look. I like that idea of coming down off the bridge with a nice welcome to Cape Coral. That looks really nice. I just was wondering how much use we are getting currently on those sidewalks already and how many people we're anticipating will use that feature, that's all.
We'll sure know that before we propose to build that.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair? Yeah, Commissioners, and for those who may see a report on the news tonight, or whether you're from Cape Coral or Fort Myers, it's important that everyone remember this is a very preliminary conversation on the design process. It's going to take 4 years, so everything that you're seeing right now is all concept, and with lots of analysis yet to take place, with many, many opportunities for not only public input, but conversations with the city of Cape Coral as well. So these are all concepts, nothing cut in stone, and won't be for quite a while.
Again, the bridge section, the key environmental issues we're going through: protected species, wetland, public lands, contamination. We'll look at noise, anything archaeological, historical. The westbound span going into Cape Coral was built in 1963. It's 58, 59 years old now, with a design life back then of 50 years. It's in fair condition, but it's got no pedestrian facilities, so it's functionally obsolete. It is a candidate, therefore, for replacement. Whereas the eastbound bridge in 1989, it's only 32 years old, built with a design life of 75 years. So it's got some 43 years left in it, which makes it a candidate for widening rather than replacement. The bridge itself, if you were in a boat looking at the bridge in this view, you can see all the pier locations. Each of these piers, they have piles that are driven down 100 feet, probably in perspective, something like that. There's probably 10 piles per pier location. We could match the existing pier locations using the same beams. The beam lengths are 72 feet long and 96 feet long at the center span of the navigational span. But if we utilize some today's higher strength materials, we can make the beam lengths 144 feet, 192 feet in the center span, and we could skip every other pier location and all the piles that need to be driven down there. As a matter of fact, we'd eliminate 17 of the pier locations, and we'd have a situation that looks like this. It would still line up with the same piers, except we would skip every other one. And then 43 years from now, when we replace the eastbound span, you'd have a more streamlined looking design. Again, this is looking into Cape Coral, the westbound bridge on the outside going in, and the eastbound bridge, you see we need to add, these are H piers underneath it. We'd have to add one pier to the outside to hold up the new lane. On the left side, if we put the hammerhead type piers, and that's up, and you can emboss these with decorative features on here, so it's something we'll look at as well. Underneath, if we use the hammerhead type piers instead of the H type piers, that would set us up for the future, in case in the future we want to replace the other bridge like that. Or we could replace them on the right side with the same piers that we're using now. And you can see in this photo, if we use the hammerhead piers, you can see the space between them. We'd skip every other pier. We'd save 17 pier and all the piles being driven down. And this was what some lighting might look like. We have an opportunity to look at different kind of design features like the lighting on the bridge.
Mr. Chairman, may I, real quick? So just to clarify on that, so the benefits of that would be, would it be a cost savings to do fewer piers then?
Yes.
Okay, and then on top of that, it could be aesthetically more attractive?
It'll be aesthetically more attractive immediately because you'll only have on the westbound side a pier every other existing pier, and then in the future you'll have them lined up, way further apart. It'll be a lot better aesthetically in the future as well when we replace the eastbound span.
Okay, thanks.
And also you have the environmental impact too, because less concrete, less drilling in there in the beds. So for the environmental, for the wildlife, it'd be better too, right?
Again, at each pier location, there's probably 8-10 piles driven 100 feet down. The Caloosahatchee is about 20 feet deep, so that's 80 feet under the mud line. That's a very loud operation. Sound really carries over the water, so that would be something done between 9 and 5, and you're still gonna hear it. So it reduces that as well.
Thank you.
Do the old piles have to be removed?
They usually blast those or try to demolish them at least a couple feet under the mud line, so they're not sticking up. And they make sure they send divers down and make sure there's no rebar sticking up should anybody scuba dive and get their equipment stuck on it.
Okay, interesting.
Coming in the Fort Myers side, we have to make sure we try to miss the landing golf course walls. Might look something like this. It's coming in the Fort Myers side. The toll gantry you see there's all we really need now with all electronic tolling. This is what section exists out there. We have two 12-foot lanes either side and a 6-foot pass. We'd like to widen the pass to 8 feet. We can reduce the lanes easily to 11 foot and still fit within the landing's walls. Again, with all electronic tolling, the top picture is what we have out there existing. But all we really need is a gantry with the readers facing down, so we could do away with the toll plaza where the attendants were to take the tolls, or we could do away with the whole facility altogether. Right now, there's currently 15 folks imaging in that toll facility. They're imaging place for all electronic tolls. They could be placed elsewhere if we want to just get rid of the building totally.
And
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I was going to say, would you expect the toll plaza to remain then until we're ready to go under construction?
Yes.
So, and do you have an update real quick, and you may not, it's okay to get back to me later, but do you have an update on the signage we had talked about previously?
Yes, that's I think the design is done. We'll soon have those put out to be bid and built. We knew that way back when we started the electronic tolling. It's just going through the design process right now and fabrication process.
Okay, so you think by the end of the year, or what's
So
your,
I think, Rob, do you have a feel for that? But by the end of the year, yes.
okay, great. Yeah, because, that is a concern I get from time to time from the community about the signage and whether, it's kind of confusing because the toll booth's still there, so some people still aren't sure whether or not they need to try to get through there or not.
Agreed.
Okay, thanks.
Randy, are we contemplating a sound wall on the east side at the intersection of McGregor and Colonial there, traveling to the west?
As part of any PD&E study, sound attenuation is always taken in, that's one of the studies done. If you'll notice on the the midpoint bridge, as you come into Fort Myers, you see the barrier walls are a little bit higher. That was because of the sound study associated with the PD&E. So to complete a PD&E officially, you have to do a sound study, whereas we wouldn't if we were not doing a PD&E.
All right, thank you.
I think, to clarify, Roger, we're talking about the north side of the intersection, northeast corner of College and the bridge there? There's a private residence, across the street from the landings.
Saw that.
I was going to ask the same question about a sound wall or buffer or something. Okay, thank you.
I got the same email.
Yeah.
Sound attenuation is pretty tricky, though. You have to build a gigantic wall to do any kind of attenuation, and it has to be continuous. If you've seen those ones on southbound I-75 near San Carlos Park, they're huge. That's truly what you need to attenuate sound. The McGregor intersection, again, currently we're 48 seconds per vehicle delay. We had some ideas to put a free flow right turn lane, a shared through left turn lane, a new southbound receiving lane, and an RRFB rectangular rapid flashing beacon for pedestrian safe crossing. That should reduce the delay to 27 seconds per vehicle. Might look something like this. The key is to stay within the right-of-way, within the landing walls. Also, if you look up at this area right here where the toll booth used to be, that merge won't be there anymore. It's a constant concern we get from residents when they have to merge coming out of the toll booth. That'll be gone. You'll be just coming along the approach road here, and the two lanes already on top of the bridge will merge with one lane, and that big merge will be gone at the toll booth. There are some landscape opportunities on both sides. Again, I wish I had a better understanding of what the future might bring, but we'll know more as time goes on these. The pedestrian accommodations, again, if you look at the left view, this picture was taken recently. There's just nowhere to ride your bike on the existing westbound span, whereas on the right-hand side, we'd come up with some different ideas. There will be some opportunities from adding the infrastructure. Since we're building a new westbound span, that'll be a new bridge, and we're adding a lane to the eastbound span, that'll be the outside of a new bridge, so you could put some different ideas, some scenic overlooks down here, which might be nice for the red, white, and boom. Something we'll look at going in the future. And again, this is a full PD&E to keep them full compliance with the NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act, which will allow us to get any federal funding that may be available. The public involvement aspect, again, is going to start next month. That's why we're talking to you today. These are some of the stakeholders, City of Cape Coral, FDOT, permitting agencies, the Land Use Golf Course, Letran. The project website is close to being up and running. We'll send out information, publicize that the minute it comes out. Here's some of the public involvement milestones. The red is when we're talking to the commissioners. The blue is the general meeting with stakeholders, and the green, the public meetings. And as you remember from the Big College Bridge, there are ample opportunities to talk to both the public and the commissioners. The public involvement website will have a website public involvement comment section. It also had website analytics, how many people visited the site, how did they find out about the site, what did they look at while they're at the site. And here's the overall schedule. Again, if you'll remember, we crafted this design process to get to a point to make a decision whether to go design build or not. That point will be about September of 2024. At that point in time, we'll decide whether it's advantageous to go design build rather than design bid build. That would even free up a little bit more time as well. And you see constructions to start about December of 2026 and be complete January of 2030. We had originally planned to start this job in 2028, so we've already saved a couple of years, and we'll save 6, 7, 8 more months if we can do the design bid process. We'll know that in September of 24. That's pretty much it. And I wish we had more to discuss at this point in time, but we are so early on. These are some early ideas. The website will be up soon, and the public involvement will start soon. So I'm sure we'll get many more questions to answer, and this will come into better view as time goes on. With that, I'll ask any questions.
Any questions for Randy or staff?
A lot of questions that people have asked me have to do with like the maintenance of traffic. At what point do you look at how you'll keep the traffic on the bridge flowing and going throughout this construction process?
That's part of the design as well. And big jobs like this, like the big colors we're about to do, that becomes part of the design team's effort. They come up with a scheme to both build the job and switch traffic as they're building the job. So we'll ask that they maintain as many lanes as we have out there now, 2 lanes now, while they're doing it if possible. There will be some times we'll have to switch over at the very end. Hopefully that can be done at night.
Okay, and then you said, what is the total length of construction once it gets started?
It's 2.3 miles.
No, I'm sorry, total
the duration,
time, yeah.
I think it was
Around 3 years.
from December 26th to 30. It's about 4 years, but probably just under 4 years.
Just under 4 years, okay. So for 4 years, it could be pretty hairy traffic situation. We'll have to be doing some temporary changes to make sure traffic keeps flowing while we're building a bridge.
Yes.
And then one question I get a lot is, what about the idea of leaving the older bridge in place and using it as a fishing pier? You had some really good reasoning for why that doesn't make sense, but why don't you share that with me?
Well, again, the older bridge is 58, 59 years old with a design life of 50. We're about to spend $150,000, I think, or $200,000 coming up here directly to fix some spalling of the concrete falling off. The concrete back then in the rebar, it just wasn't meant to last forever. If we leave a section, any or all of it, as a fishing pier, we'd be spending a lot to maintain that. For safety's sake, too. I mean, we frown on pieces of concrete falling on passing boats. So.
Okay, so it's really, to save the maintenance expense, it would make more sense than to remove the old bridge and go back with the new one. Okay.
I mean, what we could examine a fishing pier if either the Fort Myers or Cape Coral side desired it to look at a fishing pier. They're about $1.5, $2 million to add a fishing pier. A new pier, like it would go maybe 1 or 2 piers out away from the land, just for the express purpose of fishing with a cleaning station type thing.
Okay. So, and we could see if we get a lot of that during the public comment process, that's when we can take a look at that option.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Randy, I had a couple of questions. So, great presentation, and it's going to be a beautiful bridge when it's done. So, one of the things I get asked too is the timeline, and I know we have a structured timeline here. It's very detailed. We're going over the next 8 years. Do you foresee maybe with the growth at Cape Coral and the increased traffic that we may be expediting some of these schedules a little bit even sooner than December 2026 to start the time based upon the needs?
It's sure possible, especially if we decide to go design build, or if it lends itself to go design build at that point in time, and we speed it up to probably 7, 8 months. We would say at that point in time we'd be, sometime in maybe late 29 being done. One thing to remember, this whole time we'll be doing the same exercise on the midpoint bridge. So the minute we reach the finish line here, we'll flip over and widen the midpoint as well. At that point in time, you'll have 2 new lanes coming and going on the Cape Bridge, 2 new lanes coming and going on the midpoint bridge. In essence, a new 4-lane bridge going in and out of Cape Coral.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions for Randy? Any other comments? Okay. Roger, do you have anything else for us, or?
No, sir. This,
presentation?
if this conceptually meets with your approval, then we will just keep moving forward, and that's really the consensus we're looking for today.
Commissioner Daly?
I know it's hard to price anything today, much less 4 years out. Do we have any initial budgetary thoughts on what this is going to be?
Right now, we think it's about $185 million. That's if we bid it today.
Okay.
A lot is going to change in the next 4 years, I bet, too.
Pardon me?
See, it would be interesting where the price
Well,
is
I
going
know,
to
I
be 4
mean,
years from now.
you got to start someplace, and I don't want to have any false expectations, but I think it's important that everybody realizes that these things take time, patience, and money, as we always say. And the costs are continuing to challenge us.
And remind us again how we're paying for this?
Pardon me?
Pete?
It'll be either surplus funds that we've collected, a combination of that, and a bond issued that's backed by tolls.
Do you have a timeline based on what we're looking at when we might be going out to the market for a bond?
No, I don't have an exact time.
Okay.
That's great. Okay, anything else? Roger, you have anything else?
No, sir.
Well, no other questions, I guess we'll be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Commissioners.
Well
Good
done.
job, Randy. Thank you.